I learned about 6 different kinds of styles of painting, and they're from all around the world in different time periods. So I'll show you them, and I hope you can learn something about painting. So the first one I learned about was Pablo Picasso, and he was a modern artist, and so he modern art, which was specifically Cubism, was from about 1907 to 1914. It was kind of short, and so Pablo Picasso wanted, and the other artists who participated in this wanted to explore a new concept that was different from the Renaissance period, which was just before that. So to create his paintings, the artists would look at the same object that they wanted to paint in many different perspectives. So they would take an image and then they would fragment it down to certain pieces and then put them together, which created a distorted, grotesque appearance. So the painting that I have here in my image for representing Pablo Picasso was Guernica, and it represents when the Nazis bombed the town of Guernica during the Spanish Civil War. So in his perspective, he sees all these people getting injured, and so I think what he did was he broke down the most specific pieces and then put them back together to create this image. And so the next artist I learned about was Leonardo da Vinci, and his style was Italian Renaissance. Italian Renaissance is also known as High Renaissance, and so it lasted from about 1330 to 1550. And so the artists wanted to focus on things that were very real. They'd paint realistic images, and so they would paint real things like nature, humans, and the world. And so they used many techniques to make things seem real, which was shading, different perspectives, a vanishing point for a background, and many more. So Leonardo da Vinci was a very famous artist from this time. And he painted the Mona Lisa, which is the picture that I have here, and it is one of the most famous paintings in the world. A lot of people know about the Mona Lisa, and there is some debate about who the woman in the picture is, but nobody actually knows. And the Mona Lisa is located in the Louvre, which is in Paris, France, which was where Leonardo da Vinci lived. So, as you can see, this painting is very real. He used a lot of techniques to make it seem like a real person in his painting. And there are many interesting facts about the Mona Lisa that you could look up, about her smile, because there are very interesting facts about why Leonardo da Vinci painted this. But he used a lot of the techniques that were from his painting, his period, his time of art. And you see he uses shading, and he uses different perspectives to show this woman. So the next person I learned about was Rembrandt, and his style that he used was Baroque. And this he lived from 1609 to 1669 in the Netherlands, and so he was in many movements, but one of the most famous ones, which is when he created a lot of his more famous paintings, was the Baroque period. And so they would use very strong shadows and light, so then the people would seem like they were actually moving and something was actually happening. So they would paint a lot of scenes from different events, and they were a lot of religious scenes and figures. And in this painting that he has, I have right here, is the Night Watch. It shows a militia company that is getting ready for a battle. And so, as you can see, you can tell that it's night because he uses strong shadow in the sky. And then he uses light to create the figures of the people. So this is a very interesting style to learn about if you are interested in learning about different shadows and the effect of light on a painting. So the next one is Claude Monet, which is my personal favorite. And so he was born in Paris, France, in 1840, and he really liked to draw from an early age, and so then he became a leader of the Impressionist movement, which was about 1874 to 1882. Sorry. He liked to paint nature, especially like harbors and beach scenes. And so he uses usual techniques shown in Impressionism. And so Impressionism, some of the techniques that they use are short brush strokes, and Impressionists, before they created their own movement, the brushes that they used were only round, so you could have a very limited style. But they created a flat tip brush, which means you could do short flat strokes. And so they used those small little strokes to create the effect that they wanted. As you can see here in this painting, it shows the water lily pond. It shows this is a river, so he uses those short little strokes to cast the effect of reflection and the little footbridge and water lilies. And so Claude Monet, he had a very limited palette. He used it was titanium white, cadmium yellow. He used pink, well, he got this from mixing white with red and blue. So, and he didn't use black. He used black in the earlier paintings, but he left it behind because he wanted to create light in his paintings, not darkness. And so he mixed blue and yellow to make green. And so then you can make it different shades. Like this is a very dark green over here, but this is lighter green. So I think it's interesting how he uses different colors to create the effect of like the reflection in the water. And so the next artist and style that I learned about was Edvard Munch, and he used Expressionism. And so he was born in Norway in 1863. So he lived with his family in Oslo, Norway. And so in Expressionism, some things that they use, it's in the name. So they used to express themselves in their own ways. So they use like vivid colors, like bright. They had lots of bright colors that were very vibrant, and like distorted images, which you could make your own images to show like how you feel. So this painting, The Scream, is a very iconic painting, and so it represents himself, and this was a feeling inside of him. So one day he was walking, and the sky turned bloody red, like you can see in this painting, the great wavy lines, and he felt. He said that he felt inside a terror of nature, and he was very terrified. And see, he was like this figure here, like with a shocked expression. And so later he painted this to show his emotions and feelings. And I think he uses most traits of Expressionism. You can see the very vivid colors in the sky, and the brightness, even though it's black, it stands out. So I think he did a really good job following this style of painting to capture his own emotions. I think because of his emotions, I think he chose to paint this in Expressionism because it related to the mood that you're feeling. And so a lot of artists do that. They pick a style that relates to what they feel and like what they want to paint with. So the next artist that I learned about was Vincent van Gogh, and he was a Dutch painter, lived from 1853 to 1890. He lived in also in the Netherlands, and he loved to draw and paint. And so when he was little, he worked at his uncle's art dealership. So when he was older, he started painting on his own, and he found Impressionism. And this is post-Impressionism, so it's a little later than Claude Monet's style. So it has some like other variations, and so it focused on light and color. And so that's usually what his paintings feature. The Starry Night is the painting that I have here, and one of his most famous paintings, and shows a view from one of his bedroom windows. So as you can see, they have the contrast of light of the moon and of the stars with the dark of the night sky. The dark of this, it looks like a building. But see, you can see the rough strokes of his brush. So I think that's also a style, that's also a characteristic of Impressionism. And Salvador Dali was a Spanish artist, and he used surrealism, which is a lot like modern art. And so he was encouraged to paint, so he chose to do it when he was older, and he's a very talented artist. So he studied with great artists, other modern artists like Pablo Picasso, Rene Magritte, and many others. And he was inspired to learn about surrealism, modern art. And so surrealism means like things that are surreal, so like things that are not real, things that you could see in a dream. And that's what a lot of his paintings capture. The persistence of memory is this picture, and it has melting clocks, and ants. There are ants a lot, and then there's this misshaped creature in the middle, and the background is a landscape that was similar to one in his home in Figueres, Spain. And so he used techniques like he used distorted images, and this is definitely something that you could see in a dream. Like, it's definitely surreal. And I think that he definitely captured like the art of surrealism in this and many other of his paintings. So like some of his paintings, one of them he has elephants, but their legs are very long and thin, and so it's definitely something that's not real. But like I think he shows people that you can imagine different things, and it doesn't really matter what they mean. Like it can just mean something to you personally, not anybody else. And that like surrealism, you can do pretty much anything you want with it. And so the last artist that I learned about was Georges Seurat, and his style was pointillism. So he was born in 1859 in Paris, France, and he studied at an art school, and he created his own style, which was highly affected by Impressionism, so like the small strokes. And his style was pointillism, because he used very small dots of color that like combine to create one color. And so if you look closely at his paintings, they have just small little dots, not like a full stroke. And when you stand far back, you can see the full image, and it creates all one picture. And so this painting, A Sunday on La Grande Jatte, is one of his most famous paintings that shows people in Paris just relaxing at a park. There are many different people in a landscape. He has the harbor with boats, and pointillism is very similar to impressionism again because of the small little strokes, except he uses even smaller dots, and so this creates a whole new style of painting. I hope you learned a lot from looking at my video. You can go onto my website if you want to learn about it more, and then you can go to my teacher's website and learn all about what we do.